You know it's going to be a pretty good day when you have some new mandolin picks to try out, right? These are from the company Tone Slabs, and ever since I visited the Tone Slabs booth at IBMA last year, I've been hearing some really good things about these picks, but I haven't had a chance to try them out until now. So I'm excited to dig into some comparisons, some sound tests, and some overall thoughts in this here video. So Tone Slabs is a relative newcomer onto the boutique guitar and mandolin pick scene, and you may have seen it's co-founded by an amazing mandolin player, Frank Sullivan of Frank Sullivan and Dirty Kitchen. He's done some cool videos for the Mandolin Monday series here on the channel, but I was chatting to him about my pick history, what I like in a pick. He recommended that I try out these two here. So first up, we have this pick here, which is an FS Darth Tone model with tri-points and a right-handed bevel at 1.3 millimeters. And just for comparison, you can see that it's a very similar shape and size to this Blue Chip CT55, which is kind of an industry standard in the mandolin world these days. The Tone Slabs here is a fairly stiff pick. There's not a whole lot of flex in it, even at 1.3 millimeters. And it's made out of a compound, I believe it's called amide. I'm not too sure much about it, but the actual material itself is very glossy, and it actually just sticks to my thumb on its own, which is really great if you're worried about dropping your pick or it moving around in your hand while you're playing. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but this pick also has a right-handed bevel. And it's a proprietary compound bevel that's apparently different than other picks out there. And just at first glance, it feels very natural. You know, the pick meets the strings at that angle very naturally when I'm playing. They also have it in left-handed bevel too, if you're interested. So this second pick that Frank sent me is also an FS Darth Tone made from the same material, and it's also 1.3 millimeters with a right-handed bevel. But the only difference is this one has more rounded corners than the first pick. You can see just the dullness of the point compared to the sharp points on this first one here, which should result in more of a darker tone on this second one. So just to hear the difference between these two picks here of very similar specs, check out this comparison here. So first impressions with these picks, I've really enjoyed getting to mess around with these. They feel like great picks, very easy to play with, but I wanted to see how they stacked up against some other common mandolin picks that we see out there. So here are some comparisons with the Tone Slabs and these two picks, the Blue Chip CT55 that I mentioned earlier and the Wiegand TF140, which are both picks of comparable weight and size that I've used quite a lot in the past. Here we go. Just for fun, let's try a blind comparison here as well, just to see how noticeable that difference between the picks is. I could do this all day. I love comparing picks like this. I guess it's a mandolin player thing. First up, I want to say these are all really great picks. They're all going to serve you quite well, but I'm curious. Let me know down in the comments below which is your favorite. Listening back, I think the most different sounding pick was definitely this rounded corner FS tone slabs, which makes sense because I think it has slightly more rounded corners than the Weekend and the Blue Chip as well, which made this pick have a lovely dark round low end, but maybe a little less volume on the higher end because there's not as much of a point to really grab those single wound strings with, which might be an advantage in some situations depending on who you are as a player, what kind of mandolin you're playing, all that. The Weekend here was definitely different as well. You know, being made out of a different compound, a bit more textured material with the holes in the middle, feels like it has more of a drier sound to it, which also could be an advantage. But probably the most comparable were these two here, the Blue Chip CT55 and then the FS Tri-Corner. You know, these have a very similar texture to them. Felt like they were both kind of moist. They had a lot of depth to the sound, but also a nice articulation at the beginning of the note. Very similar in a lot of ways. You know, I think a great way to describe these tone slab picks is to say that they're a really good tortoiseshell alternative. They have a very similar feel and sound to tortoiseshell, but they're more humane and sustainable, and they might even be better than tortoiseshell in some ways too. These seem like they're probably louder and have more clarity to the notes, and they're supposed to be very durable, but only having played them for a few days, I can't really speak to that yet. And durability is so important. You know, a little bit about my own personal pick journey. You may have seen this other pick comparison video here on the channel, where at the end of the video, I talked a lot about this Golden Gate Extra Stiff 1.3 millimeter pick, which I still really enjoy the sound of, and it's only a couple bucks, so it's very affordable compared to other picks that we've looked at here. You know, when I made that video, it was during the pandemic, and I was just sitting at home playing by myself mostly. I wasn't really digging in that much, but as soon as I started to go out and play on stage again, play at loud jams where I really had to play harder, I realized that these Golden Gate picks would scrape and break quite easily, where you'd be playing and almost instantly it would become unusable because something had happened to the edge of the pick, which is something that you really don't want to happen to you when you're in a live setting like that. So durability is so important, and only time will tell how these tone slab picks will hold up, but I've heard really good things about the durability so far, and I really want to spend some time with these and see how they hold up. But I could go on about nerdy stuff like this forever, so please stop me. You know, I'd love to hear from you. Instead, leave a comment down below. While you're there, a like and a subscribe too. If you want to find out more info about tone slab picks, there's a link down in the description below. I love on their website, they have all sorts of customizable options like different thickness, different points, different bevels, so check it out. And a huge thanks to Frank for sending these to me to try out here. And I guess happy picking. That's the right thing to say after a video like this, right?